Hello, board gamers of the world. Welcome again to the Curious Box. We are back with one more interview. And today we have as guests the creators of High and the sequels, about which we'll be talking about very soon. Daniel and Connie Kazmaier. Am I
Hey,
spelling it right?
totally. Yeah.
How are you guys?
We're doing well. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
we're sipping some tea this morning and staying in for the
Yeah.
most
It's
part.
a herbal tea. It's getting warmer in Canada. It was snowing 2 days ago, but the next day is very sunny. So we're drinking cold tea.
Are you staying home or home all the time?
Yes. Yeah. Everyone's indoors. We go shopping maybe twice a month, but we pick it up with the car. So,
Okay. So I will start with first your game, first High, because I'm seeing you're drinking tea, and I want to know how did you get the idea for this game? Yeah, you can show the box.
oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
And here's
This is a game about trading tea, about making tea. Tell us a little bit about your game and how did you come to this idea?
Yeah, so Daniel was actually going to a prototyping convention, and he had brought a submarine game, and that's kind of what he was working on at the time. And on the way back, he said, hey, it would be really cool to make a game about tea. And we both love tea, far before making the game. So then we just kind of sat down and looked at what would be really fun mechanics. And from the get-go, we wanted a game that was immersive and drew people into the world, and was good for families and friends who come together in front of a table and have a really good time together. So that's kind of our philosophy going into making chai.
Yeah. Something that's like a gateway game, but a little bit harder. So, like, all of us could enjoy. Like, we enjoy Ticket to Ride and Catan, but we want a little bit more, so we have some abilities in it. But yeah, and no one had really done T games before, so now there's lots. So maybe we started something. Who knows? But it's been fun.
A trend, possibly. Yeah, and it was recently on the Dice Tower top 10 of relaxing games. Huh?
Yeah, that was a big surprise. So we're very excited for that.
So I think you achieved one of your goals at least.
Yes.
It's great. Tell me a little bit about your life before you started creating board games. What were you doing? How did you start playing board games? When?
Yeah, I guess I grew up like many kids in North America, play Monopoly and Risk, Trivial Pursuit. Um, I guess now that you ask, back in like grade two, so when I was about 7 or 8, they wanted us to make a board game. So I made one on The Hobbit, like just hexagons, and you have to move all the hobbits towards, um, yeah, where the dragon is,
You
Smog,
still
and
have it?
I don't. It was
Ah,
so big that we had to get rid of it, and then made some other games. But yeah, I started playing chess actually in grade 7, and then went to provincials. So I've been playing chess for the last 17 years. I was kind of semi-professional, but just not good enough to be the best. So yeah, I still play every day though. I have some friends who are grandmasters, and it's kind of my game that I go back to. But I guess before board games, I was in humanitarian aid, working with refugees in different countries. And it was really cool because when we would go places, sometimes at a camp, they would have way too much water, um, or different things. So the kids and the families would really want entertainment. They would bring in a comedian with, um, or a joker with balloons, or we'd go play soccer. And that was very helpful for them to, um, restore themselves going through trauma. And I remember at one camp, we were playing Uno, and I couldn't speak Arabic. It was in Greece. But all the kids, they could, laugh, and they're playing the +2 on each other. And I realized that games are very universal, and it's a language in themselves. The icons we use and the different instructions, we can communicate without words.
It's very easy to use games to unite people.
Totally. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about
Yeah, so outside of working on Chai, I'm actually a special education teacher. So I work with kids from grade 7 to 9 who have developmental disabilities. So I think one of the really cool things that I bring from that experience is looking at every every mechanic and saying, is this something that I can teach my kids? Is this something that's accessible for different people to learn, or is it just way too complicated and not worth putting in? Even things like rule books, right? So I'm looking at the rule book as we're working on it and saying, is this easily understandable? Is this something that people can try and read and then understand what to do? So yeah, so that's kind of what I do for my day job.
You use board games a lot on your classes?
Yeah, so I had a board game club last year, and it brought in students who were in the regular population at our school, and also some of my kids from my class. So it was a really good way for them to build some friendships with kids who were outside of my class, because often they feel quite isolated from the rest of the school. So that was really cool.
It's awesome. It's really, really cool. I also teach board games. I teach board games in schools. That's what I do.
That's
And
very cool.
to little kids. And it's amazing. If you are teaching a kid, you can see the evolution of the way they think and the way they react to certain moves and to new games. You can see the evolution from the first class, from the beginning of the year until the end of the year. Is enough. 9 months are enough. It's really, really, really amazing. So maybe soon I can bring Hai to play with them also, because I think especially the ones from the 3rd and the 4th grade, they will play it quite easily. I think so. So I wanna know. I'm very curious about this. When you decided to make this game, have you decided already that you wanted to launch it on Kickstarter, or were you thinking of selling it to some publisher, or what were you thinking in the beginning? Because in the beginning, I know the process. It's like, oh, I have this great idea for a game. Let's make it. But we especially when it's our first game, and I'm not sure it's your first game also.
Yeah, it is.
Was your first game. So I know that in the beginning we don't really think about how are we going to sell it. We start thinking about it maybe in the middle of the process. So how was your process?
Yeah, well, I guess coming back from that car ride, got a prototype in the next couple of days. And the board game design community is really good in our province of Alberta. In our city, we have some other successful designers who are first timers who went on Kickstarter. And we also have Roxley. So they've done, Santorini and Brass. They have a campaign on right now as well, Steampunk Rally. So they've been really helpful in giving us advice whenever we need it. And they told us that, it takes 2-3 years for a game from ideation to making it a good game to getting it on Kickstarter, and you have to negotiate contracts and figure things out. And we have a little bit background in marketing and social media and making websites, graphic design, all of that. So we thought, hey, let's just try it for fun. Let's put it on Kickstarter. So we made a free version, a print and play, and put it online. And within 6 months, we already had over 1,000 people, unique people, try it. Yeah, they just loved the theme. We were really good at collecting emails and people that were interested. And we had giveaways, so it just incentivized people playing it. So we already had a good base of people that wanted to buy the game. So from ideation to Kickstarter was about 8 months. And we just launched it. We weren't sure how it would do, and yeah, funded on the first day, and it was really exciting for us. So right now we're just finishing fulfillment. We're like 99%. So just a few countries because of COVID. We're wrapping things up.
I checked your campaign. It had 2,600 backers. Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of people. it's really a lot of people. How long did it take you to build your audience before you launched the campaign?
Yeah, I would say the 8 months. So the print and plays, and then we had a very active Facebook group. So lots of people joined. We have lots of people on Instagram following along our journey. So that's been a real source of encouragement too. So even when we put up the social stretch goals on the campaign, we had so many entries from all these different places, people doing fan art on Instagram or tweeting us different tea recipes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I would say the 8 months for sure. But yeah, we even actually in the summer, we went on a trip to Thailand and we invited people to kind of come along and follow along. So there was a lot of that storytelling part of us kind of sharing our life and then people kind of joining along.
Yeah, we went to China too to visit Connie's relatives and, visit the local board game club.
Oh, yeah.
Just wherever we went, people started to hear more about it. And I think we also went to Shucks. That's Shut Up and Sit Down. They have a convention in Vancouver, and went to a few other ones. So we really tried to, broaden our reach. And we started our Instagram account a full year before the campaign. So we were just doing pictures every 2-3 days and making sure we engaged people.
That's cool. Let's talk a little bit about the creating process. So you had this idea for a theme. How did you find the right mechanics for that theme to make sense? Because for me personally, a game needs to make sense. I don't like to play mechanics if they don't even if they are really cool mechanics. Personally, I don't like to play mechanics if they don't fit the theme. And your mechanics, they fit the theme. How was the process? How was the evolution of the creating process?
Yeah, we took personality tests online for like, what is your type of favorite board game? And both of us like that strategic but immersive kind of feel. So we agree with you that we really wanted the mechanic to fit what it was doing. So we went through 3 or 4 different designs. Originally, we had customer cards all face down, kind of in a grid. And then you would flip over the middle one, and you could only complete customers that are adjacent to it. But it didn't really make sense in real life. Like, why would a customer suddenly want to, show his face in your store? Or, that a customer is over here, but he won't be there till the middle of the game. So.
And going back to the looking at it from a teacher perspective, I realized that rule was just way too complicated to explain to anybody. So we went back and forth, and I said, we just can't. We have to simplify the process. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So that accessibility part is really big. And we realized we're teaching a different kind of pantry mechanic to my parents who aren't really gamers. And my mom couldn't explain how it worked. So we thought, well, maybe a design requirement is that my mom has to be able to teach us the game. So we teach it to her quickly. And then if she can't explain it back to us, then it's not good. And they're both teachers. So they're able to communicate in a very efficient way. So we worked on different ways that were very simple, yet had some depth to it. To be honest, the market where we have different tiles that connect and you can buy for the same price. I was just taking a shower one day. I'm like, hey, that's a great idea. So sometimes you don't know where your ideas come from. It could be on a walk or when you're eating. But yeah, we just tried it. And that, I guess, is the central mechanic for the game. So.
How frustrating, or how did you react to the frustration, to those frustrating moments when you realized, oh, this doesn't work? or oh, this was such a good idea, or oh, I thought the game was almost ready and now we have to change everything again,
Right.
or
I guess you never know when your game is ready. Gavin from Roxley, he's like, yeah, at some point you just have to hit the publish button and hope that it works. Um, yeah, because we can work on games forever, or we can, try to put them out and enjoy them as they are. Um, yeah, so I guess we didn't get too frustrated because we're always just creating new ideas. I think the hardest part is trying to take out ideas to simplify things, and um, a lot of other designers would talk about it, that's the hardest thing to do, just to get rid of the bloat. So we had some other mechanics that we thought were cool, or let's have every player have cards in their hand that are hidden, or maybe you select cards at the start and keep some, but all of it was just confusing for newer players. So I think knowing our audience, tea lovers who maybe play some board games, and making sure that they felt that they were enjoying and removing their anxiety, kind of helped us figure out what would work and what wouldn't.
And our play testers were really helpful as well. So the 1,000 play tests that Daniel mentioned earlier, people would actually go in and fill out a form after they're done. And then on the form, it would say, what would you like to improve, or would you not like it to be? And so, yeah, so that was super helpful for our process, getting all of that feedback and realizing, oh, maybe this is actually broken. We need to go and change it. So
yeah. And that's the difference between, as you know, blind play testing and just play testing with us, because we can always correct issues that people are having in person. But if they have to just read from the rule book and they're not understanding something, like we had one person, they played through the whole deck of cards, all 50 cards, and they're like, why is this game 4 hours? Like, I was not having fun at the end. And we had put, just use the cards of the players that are playing the game. So if you're a green tea player or the Royabus, just use the two decks of cards, but they're using all of them. So we realized that it was actually our fault because we didn't, communicate that more strongly, like having the same rule twice in a rule book or something. So
no, I think playtesting is is an art actually, and you need both the normal playtesting and the blind playtesting, because blind playtesting is exactly perfect for that, to get the rules. Okay, you don't have me, so you read the rules and let's see if the rule book is good enough, because if it's good enough, it will solve all your problems. Now, the main problem about testing in general is, I think there are two main problems. One is to ask the right questions, and then to take them interpret it. Yeah,
yeah.
the answers. It's not always easy. Did you have any problems doing that? I mean, taking the right outcome from the playtests?
Yeah, well, I guess it's still totally new to us, so we're not experts, but I guess we had those 1,000 unique play testers, so that was probably about 300 sample games that were blind play tested, but we had about 15 or 20 pieces of information from each one. And we would notice, some trends, like some people were unsure of, let's say, the starting setup with how many coins each person gets, or sometimes end game scoring was very complicated because we had some awards that we would give. If you have the most T tokens in one cup, or if you completed different colors and all these things. So we realized that we had to, again, just simplify things. But at the end of the day, you're not quite sure if the changes you're making will make the game better until you play test it again. So, one little change will result in all of those previous play tests kind of being nullified or void. So it was good that we changed the game a couple times during the play tests. And for the most part, people were understanding. They realized that it's not a complete game, and they were able to try the new version. But yeah, you don't want to make 20 changes and then they get frustrated too because they want to just contribute, but it's not their full-time job. They just want to have fun. So making sure that expectations are good for everybody.
Let's talk about the next games. Okay, so you did this one. When did you run the campaign? Last year?
Ooh, I think it was December to January. So December
18?
2018, yeah, and then January 2019 was when we ended it.
Okay, so and when okay, I assume that during the creation of the first game, you started having ideas already for the new games, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and the community too.
Have you started developing them immediately after the first game was ready, or
Yeah.
you took some time and then you started again?
Well, the campaign ended in January, and then that same board game conference here that's local that we made the first game, it was coming up again, and I had signed up to show some of our new games, but we didn't have any new games. So that same week, leading up to it, I spent some all-nighters reading some tea books, and we made one on how tea is processed, how it is manufactured from the actual field. Because we had a lot of people who love tea, and even though the game is very immersive, Chai, it doesn't have a lot of information about tea. It just has pictures and you own a tea shop. So they wanted a lot more. So yeah, we did a lot more research, and that one's more of like a true tea lovers game. So we were play testing that about 3 months after the first campaign ended. It's called Chai Tea for Two. So we're just going to bump that campaign by a few months because of COVID, but that one's ready to go. We have art from our previous artists and also Andy Bosley, who did Everdale and some other games. So he's helping us. Yeah, we're really excited. It's kind of like Seven Wonders Duel difficulty, and people love two-player games. We do as well. So we thought, oh yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, we thought it'd be a good fit, you know, to do a series of board games. Maybe we'll do a card game of Chai down the road, but you can't do it all as well, even if we really like it.
Of course, of course. Tell me one thing. With this, the whole COVID situation, so most people are at home or working from home or doing nothing at home, but they are at home. And a lot of people are, I know from Portuguese publishers, they are selling a lot of board games because people suddenly found the need to have something to play with their kids or in family or with the people with whom they are at home. So Hi is arriving at people's homes during the COVID crisis, right? And I was just thinking, that since it is a very relaxing game, it probably helps a lot, and I'm not even joking. It probably helps a lot people, of course, different people like different games, but when you are with your family, suddenly you need family games, and when you're playing family games, you try not to have much conflict. So Hi comes just in the right time for this, for this situation. It's the COVID game.
Although I have to say, it depends on who you're playing it with. If we play against each other, it gets very intense. It's not a relaxing game anymore.
Well,
I believe it's always like that with your partner.
Yes.
I can play, I don't know, the most relaxing game with my partner. It will always be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very passive aggressive sometimes. So even playing like Splendor, and you reserve a card, and the other person doesn't like that because they're going for that card, and yeah, it's okay. So we're just both competitive, but we're playing more Pandemic Legacy because
Co-op games.
yeah, we have can put our mutual competition towards something good.
All right. what is the biggest challenge of a second game? I mean, you already created the community,
Nice.
so it's easier to reach the people who already loved your game. But also it brings a lot more responsibility because suddenly people have a good game in their hands and they will not be happy with the second game, which can be less than the first one. So what were your biggest worries while creating T42?
I think one of the things we had some challenges on was the difficulty level. So for base try, like Daniel said, it's a gateway game. So, you know, people are having fun with families, that kind of thing. T for two is more difficult, not like extremely difficult, but more complex. And I think when we were showing that off, when we were showing T for two off to people at conventions, we realized too we had to kind of assess what level of a gamer somebody is and then which kind of game was more appropriate. We had some worries about you know, whether or not our original community would be the same community that likes T for two, how that would go if you know they're more into gateway games and then T for two is more complex. But I would say by far most people are really supportive still from our community. I think people see it as kind of, you know, you can play chai with your kids when they're awake, and then when they're asleep, then you know, you and your spouse can go and play two for two, and it's a more difficult game. So
Yeah, and going back to the play testing, I was at a convention and this family came up and they played chai and they loved it. They're so excited. And then the little 8-year-old girl looked at the prototype for T for two and was like, "Oh, I want to play this. Teach me how." And I realized, like, oh no, like she's gonna have a terrible time. Um, so in that moment, I changed one of the rules um, that changed the game like very substantially, and she could understand it and she loved it, and yeah, her expectations were totally okay. So that's now a changed rule for the entire game, just because, you know, in that moment you have to think on your feet. And we're really happy that now we feel that we've branched both gaps. So people that enjoyed the base game and they like it, but they want something harder, but it's easier to understand. And I guess as we become more long-time designers, we're understanding how to communicate better and to make sure that even a game with more depth can be understood at the same level. And some of the easiest games, yeah, they can be the hardest to understand, or at least the depth of it. And I'm just thinking of chess personally because, you know, you only have a handful of pieces that move, but the complexity is massive. So you can spend your whole life learning how to play it.
Where does it fit high T? Because we are talking about T42 and T42 is coming only in the summer. Before we'll have high T on the 25th of May. So
Yeah,
we're almost there.
we thought, you know, we keep delaying the Chai Tea for Two game, and everyone's really excited about it. But hey, let's, you know, surprise them with an expansion for Chai, because they just received it, as you said, during COVID, and all their families are enjoying it. And since the start, everyone has wanted even more abilities to use in their games. So making it a little bit harder, but just increasing engagement between the different players. So right now you can buy each other's little tea tokens. I think I might have some here. Yeah. So you can buy these different little guys. Here's the oolong and the green. So if I was the oolong player and I was doing a green card, Connie is the green tea merchant, I can pay her $1 and then she'll give this to me. And I'll put them into a cup. But we really wanted to have unique player powers that, you know, just make the game really exciting, and it changes just the dynamics to different strategies that you might not see. So everyone gets a little player board, and it has a special ability on one side. And then when you use it, it can be any time on your turn. It's a free action. You flip the board over, and there's another unique ability that you can use. So we're including 12 of these different abilities, everything from, swapping a customer with a different player, or moving tiles in the market before you buy something in the market, or rolling some dice. Kind of like Istanbul, there's a tea room in there. That's another great game. So we're just trying all these different things, and our community, they were the ones that kind of helped build it. So we would ask them every few months, like, hey, what's something you would like to see in Chai? And then they would give us some ideas. So we took maybe 70 of those ideas and found like 6 or 7 good ones. And then we added our own and did some play testing. And we like how it feels. It could be kind of crazy now, but yeah, those abilities will, I think, really spice it up. So.
And are you planning any time in the future to make any other game which is not related to tea?
We are, yeah. We can't see the title yet, but there's a game in the future done by really wonderful artists.
Yeah, we can say that Andy Bosley is doing it.
Can we say that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
Andy Bosley is working on the art. It has to do with Canadian animals. So that's the clue.
Yeah. So he sent us some art last night, actually. It was really exciting.
Good.
But as we're like working on other games, it's hard to manage all the different projects because we have, High Tea on Kickstarter, and then Chai Tea for Two, and then this other animal game. And I'd like to do the submarine game as well, or
one day
maybe a chai card game. So, or a roll and write. We have some ideas, but.
Which games inspired you to become board game designers? I mean, those ones that you were playing and you were like, "Wow, this is so cool! I could try to do something like this."
I like Imhotep. I like how there's the boards have 2 sides, so different variations on the game. How every game is so dynamic and different. I think that's really important to me. And also how you can teach it to anybody. You can teach it to a child and they would still be able to understand some basics of how it works. And it's very tactile and visually appealing. So that to me, it fulfills that immersive kind of side of me.
Yeah. You're moving little boats and you have cubes on them, so you're placing them on top. I think for me, it's probably Scythe because it's really immersive. I've played it probably like 20, 30 times and just really enjoy the different possibilities you have. It reminds me of chess because you have, this fog of war and there's a lot of tension. You're not sure when the game will end and you're kind of maneuvering a bit. So for both of us, we like probably tactical strategic games. So probably Targi would be our favorite 2-player game. And you're trying to find an intersect to do a specific ability and get different resources. So yeah, those kind of inspired us a little bit. We had maybe a year before we started making games, we dove into modern board games quite a bit. And, we found probably 100 different board games in a year. Just on the used market here in town, we would do trading. We have a thing called Kijiji. So you meet up with different people and you buy games and trade that.
I'm so glad I don't live there.
You would have a lot.
Yeah.
My problem is every year. My problem is Essen. I buy most of my games there, and then I keep buying during the year. But I can, looking at my collection, which is right here, I can say easily 50-60% came from Essen, 1918. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that we just have a suitcase, so we can't buy 100 games.
No, my problem. I will have a problem there. When I went there for the first time in 18, I was thinking, okay, I can just buy a few small games because I have only a backpack and stuff. And then I arrived there, and someone told me, because I was working for a publisher, and they told me, we can send you the games with our stuff. And that was yeah. So in 19, I went a little more prepared money wise. So I bought 40 games there.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, we really hope Essen is on this year. We're excited to come back. It's always we're trying to figure out if Connie can go for a week or a bit.
With teaching.
Yeah, as a teacher, it can be hard, but yeah, my mom's all excited. She's one of the tea customers in the game, and my dad as well. So he was very sad that he missed out on last year because my mom came back with all these stories about Essen, and they both speak German, so they're very excited.
So all the Germans loved meeting her. I think some of them were calling her, Mama, Mama Chai, or other names. So they were just so excited that she could, talk German with them.
Yeah.
This brings me to my next topic, the COVID situation.
Yes.
Okay. We are all being affected by this, of course, and nobody's 100% sure Essen is going to happen, and actually in which terms it's going to happen. So you are promoting games, you are promoting your games, and a huge part of it is done in conventions, of course, which cannot take place now, or at least now they can't. How do you expect until the end of the year, the things to evolve?
Yeah, well, I guess it's really, I guess a bit harder for smaller publishers like us because you want to have those direct sales at conventions, like you said. I think we're going to go to Origins and UK Games Expo, and I'm sure Gen Con will cancel in July, and a few more local ones. So yeah, we have some extra inventory, which isn't always good, but some people have bought games, and we're excited for the High Tea Kickstarter, just so we can help move things along a bit. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. And it's been really neat to see how board games have adapted to online. So from Tabletopia to Tabletop Simulator and a few other ones. This week I found some German websites that it's all in German, but they have German specific games or new releases that no one's heard of yet, and that's been exciting. So one of our playtesters, the lead one, he has introduced me to the world of online gaming. So I know Tabletopia, they had maybe like 2,000 members online historically, and now they've gone to 6,000. So their servers crashed a few times, and everyone's adapting. And that's a great thing because, board games are becoming more popular, even in the mainstream media. Ravensburger sold out of puzzles in North America. You couldn't find a puzzle anywhere. So that's quite rare, and I'm glad people are gravitating towards the connecting with their families and bonding through that. Our distributor said that, hey, it's going to take probably 4 to 6 months for things to get better. They've even had releases from February and March, and now April and starting May that are in the pipeline. So they have to, release those ones. They can't release all of the games together, or else the stores, when they reopen, they'll be overwhelmed. Chai was supposed to be May 22nd. That was our retail launch day for the English version. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be like August or September, or maybe even October. And that's okay. We just gotta roll with the punches and adapt as well.
I was thinking that this whole COVID situation brought a really good has a good side on the board game industry, because the previous years, the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years, there's 5 years, let's say, there's been a boom of board games, of modern board games, and suddenly this situation is bringing games to houses which were not playing games. They are bringing games to new people. Because I see more and more people. I see my friends who are not. Some of them are not gamers at all. They were only playing Catan and Century Spice Road because I was bringing the games for them to play. And suddenly they are asking me daily, on a daily basis, what game do you think should I buy? Because now I'm stuck at home and I should play something because I need something to play. I need something to do. And suddenly they see I bring them all the time different games, and they are like, oh, I didn't know games were like this now. Can you tell me more? And this is happening in a daily basis.
Yeah.
It's happening a lot. So I think this situation somehow can create a new audience for board games. So it's not only working against us, but it's working also for us.
Mhm.
Oh,
Okay.
and just on that note, like, yeah, even with tea, a lot of people love tea. You know, it's a major hobby for them. It's a larger industry than board games. And that was a great connection with our game because I think it was roughly 10 or 12% of our Kickstarter backers had never been on Kickstarter before. So it was a totally new concept for them. And mostly because they were tea lovers that wanted to try a board game about tea. So it's not a famous movie like Terminator or Alien, but it's the same idea where someone has a different interest and then they enjoy a board game because of the theme. So we can't wait for other games with a very unique interest come. So
It
I
is
think
it
that's
is a
one of
very unique theme actually,
yeah.
and it says a lot it speaks to a lot of people, to a lot of different people. If I bring Hi to my parents' place, they will probably be interested, and they don't play so many games, but they will look at it and they will probably be interested. My sister for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, I think when we were designing it too, we wanted it to represent different tea cultures around the world. So even on our cards, we have, anything from a Japanese tea ceremony to this is a friend of ours in Mexico. So it's got more of the
Can you
Latin
get it
America.
closer to the camera?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, right there.
Awesome.
So
Oh, and in the new expansion, we actually have horchata.
yeah. So for the new expansion for high tea, we looked at what are some of the most unique tea experiences. So horchata, or we talked about there's a Russian tea, or butter tea in that
Tibet.
was Tibet. Yeah, yeah.
There's a Pakistani chai that's actually pink. They put baking soda in it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we were learning so much. Chinese weddings, they have a tea ceremony with the parents of the bride and the groom. And yeah, so we're just celebrating different things. Herba mate from South America. And I brought up horchata because of the Spanish connection. And apparently horchata is had with fartons in Valencia. So it's like a doughy donut, like a roll, and then they put icing on top. So we try to have, more diversity. It's not just the British with their high tea, but like all these cultures in the world, they have their own tea traditions. So yeah, we're just learning tons, and tea is such a global thing, just like board games.
A few years ago, a friend of mine was telling me he was traveling a lot, and he was telling me that the first thing he was looking for while traveling was to try the food,
Hmm.
because it was a great way to get to know a little bit of the country of the culture of the country. I think it applies also to tea. This concept applies also to tea, because when I'm playing something that shows me I love traveling. I love games about traveling, and I'm creating a game about traveling, and so on and so on.
Cool.
So for me, trying a game in which I can get to know different kinds of teas. And you showed now the art. The art gets me there to the place. It's a great, it's an amazing way of traveling through a game. Yeah, it's just beautiful. So I think it will get to more and more people over time. I think some games, they are on Kickstarter and they are well succeed, but suddenly 6 months later nobody else speaks about it. And it's funny because I have been hearing about High a long time before I met Daniel at Essen last year. And actually, when we met and you told me your name, suddenly I related the name to the game. You know?
Yeah, we were really humbled. Like I was at a party and then you were there and we were ordering some food and beverages and I had no idea other people had heard about the game in other countries. So yeah, like that was very encouraging because I think that was the night before Essen started.
Yes, it was.
So yeah, it was really encouraging to meet you and glad that our friendship is here, 9 months later. So
for me personally, it was great because I arrived there and I didn't know anybody. And so I just came to you and to the guys and asked if I could sit close to you.
awesome,
And that's how it started. Yeah. But when you told me the name, then I and we were already friends on Facebook.
yeah.
So it means something. So okay, 25th of May, high tea, right? The expansion is online. So guys, go check it out because this is a very, very cool game, really thematic, very easy to play, and not so easy to win. And it's great for the family, and it's great to learn a little bit about tea, and who doesn't like tea anyway. Thanks a lot for being at the Curious Box, Daniel and Connie.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
having me.
spending this time with us. I hope you'll achieve all your goals. I'm dying to play the games and to hear more from your next games also. Okay, thanks.
Thank you for having
Thank you
us.
so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, hope to see you at Essen again.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see if it's possible. Thank you. Thanks so much. So this was Connie and Daniel Kazmaier from High. You know, Chief High T. The expansion for High is already on Kickstarter. So check it out. Don't waste this chance to back a great, great expansion for an amazing game. That's all from the Curious Box. Uh, as always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There will be more and more and more interviews, and some of them also in Portuguese with some very well-known Portuguese guys that you personally know also, with new games which were just announced. So don't forget, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, like the videos, everything else you know already, and hopefully I'll be seeing you all at a table close to you.